Okay, here we go. And we are live. Hello, everyone. We are live here on Facebook for Down the Rabbit Hole with Sapphire Soul and Morning Moon. Today we have a special guest, Anne Marie. She's joining us as we go down the rabbit hole on the Charlie Kirk situation. And I'm so excited to chat about this. So I'm sure everybody out there has had some sort of um, dividing experience, enlightening experience regarding the death of Charlie Kirk. I know that for me, I when I found out, I messaged Alyssa right away, and I
You
messaged Anne
did.
Marie right away.
And I knew he had passed right away without seeing it.
Yeah,
I think I asked you that, and then you're like, yeah, they just posted something. So it
yeah,
was
yeah.
horrific to have that happen on
Oh, live
publicly.
publicly. Yeah,
His
publicly. And I know
family is
that
sitting right there.
I know, and we've been talking about grief. We've been going on about grief and what a interesting topic to follow up with. I know we were going to talk about AI and aliens, everyone, but Alyssa and I have had a funky last few weeks. As most of you know, Alyssa had to move houses, but she manifested her new
Did.
house.
And
Yes.
you thought it was fake, my background. It's just real.
No,
I'm in my forest. I'm
in
in
your
my forest.
I love it. I love it. It's so cool. So cool. We'll have to talk about that story next time and go into deeper about that and follow up with our AI and aliens conversation that we were
For
going
sure.
to go down on. But I want to talk a little bit about Charlie Kirk and how it affected the world and how it's affected our interactions with other people and what actually happened. So I brought on my friend Anne Marie because Anne Marie is really based when it comes to political discussions and knows way more than I could ever about these sort of things because I just simply I don't have time to dive into the rabbit hole as deep as I'd like to. So Anne Marie, lay it all out for us, what you know about the
Yes,
Charlie
tell
Kirk
us.
situation because we want to know more. I know what I've researched, I know what I've read. There's a lot of controversy about Israel. There's a
There
lot of
is. I was just watching something on that actually.
yeah,
So very
yeah,
curious.
yeah, we want to know.
So, unfortunately, Charlie Kirk obviously was murdered. I know there are a lot of people out there saying, oh, it was a body double or whatever, but no, the real Charlie Kirk was murdered. There was no accident that it was done publicly in front of the world on 9/10. I think that's this generation's version of 9/11. Or if you're older like me, the Space Shuttle Challenger.
The
I
day
think
after my birthday too. My
Mm,
birthday's 9/9. I'm like,
that's Suicide
terrible.
Awareness Day, I think, or 9,
Yeah,
yeah.
I- yeah,
I
we,
didn't know that.
Yeah.
yeah. So
Hmm.
I think it was absolutely planned. There's ample evidence to support that it was planned. You have the letter from Israel, a letter of condolence that was written on September 2nd. Um,
Really?
yes, you have a book that was published on Amazon saying, complete interview with people that were there and eyewitnesses and so on. But that was published on Amazon on September 6th. So 4 days before.
What?
Yeah.
That's insane. That gives me full chills just
I
just you
know.
saying that. I'm just like full chills. Wow. Okay.
And then also you have Britain offering condolences 5 hours before it happened. So there's no wonder that Erica Kirk posted a post about wanting support and being in the shadow of protection and so on, because I think his team was getting alerts and they knew something was up but didn't know exactly what.
But
I've
why? Like, that's what I want to know. Why do you think why? Like,
also,
why did they kill him?
well, my opinion is
Yeah.
Charlie was really calling into question the actions of October 7th that happened in Israel, that it was a green flagged operation. Those are his words, not mine, where he felt that Israel had pulled back intentionally the security and allowed their people to be attacked and, taken hostage and murdered. A horrific event
Did
by,
he just start talking about that? Sorry.
Yes,
Was that something he just came out with? Because wasn't he in support of Israel?
past 2 months. Yes.
Okay.
And he felt that it was a greenlit operation. And the reason why I feel that they were, allowing that to happen potentially, is because then it gave them the permission to attack Hamas without repercussion, right? Because if you're going to attack my country, then I can attack you, and the whole world should kind of applaud and be like, yes, that was horrible. All these innocent civilians, babies, women murdered, ruthlessly murdered. Um, of course, people should be on the side, right, of Israel, because there's very much an anti-Semitic spirit in the world. That is continually attacking Israel and has been from the beginning of time, really. So I think that was like strike number one. Candace Owens has come out and said some things where essentially Charlie Kirk had been, it had been suggested that he fly and meet with Benjamin Netanyahu to discuss a couple things and, his opinions and the things that he was saying regarding Israel. He also very publicly said that he felt that politicians on both the right and the left were being blackmailed by Israel from the compromise, from the Epstein list, and that Epstein list hasn't been released. Now, we all know that the Epstein list hasn't been released because of the exposure that it would result in. I don't believe that Trump is on that list. I have many reasons to believe why I don't think he's on that list. First and foremost, because he turned Epstein in. He cooperated with Palm Beach, the West Palm Beach, DA, and so on. And he was the only one that didn't need a lawyer, and he gave the DA as much time as he wanted to have Epstein prosecuted. So you're not going to do that if you have something to hide, right? So
Wasn't Epstein a Mossad agent?
Yes,
I heard that too.
Yeah.
God,
Yeah.
Epstein was placed in New York City at a very prestigious high school. He was, as a 20-year-old, he had previously been unemployed, magically shows up and gets placed by the dean of this school and given access to all these children and hired. Now, this is an elite academy that has the best of the best teachers. They charge, $80,000 a year tuition, right? So you wouldn't just have some random unemployed 20-year-old college dropout, right? You would want the best of the best for the teachers. You would not hire him as being math. So clearly he was placed there again because there was some kind of compromise that was on that dean, or maybe a family member, arms were being twisted, and he was placed there. And then, he and Ghislaine Maxwell had this place in New York City and so on. So I feel very strongly that because of whatever he was speaking out against, that is why he was murdered. And I feel it was also a shot at Trump, because Trump did not go along with the bombing of Qatar. He heard that Qatar was being bombed. He called Netanyahu. He couldn't get him because obviously he was in a situation room. And then he called Qatar and he was like, hey, Israel's on the way. They're going to be bombing you. Just want to let you know. Because it was literally like the next day that Charlie Kirk was assassinated. So I think it was a way of being like,
oh, wow, the next day.
Us with our operations and our sovereignty. And if we can get to Kirk, we can get to you too. Also, I do not believe that the kid was the shooter. I believe the kid is a patsy, no different than
JFK.
JFK and Lee Harvey Oswald, because there were CIA people that were pretending to be Lee Harvey Oswald. They recruited him, they groomed him for a good cause, that they thought, but he did not do it. And he tried to say he didn't do it. And, that
the kid that's in custody right now?
No.
Oh, you're talking about, okay.
I don't think the kid, first of all, there's just way too many inconsistencies, of this kid. You're not going to take a gun apart, leave the scene, and then have it reassembled and have a towel that has your DNA put in a place where it can be, found in an open field nearby. Like, that's just ridiculous. Nobody's going to take the time to do that. That was very intentional to misdirect. No different than the gentleman, also Israeli, that was arrested at the scene saying that he
Yeah,
shot.
what was that about? Was that just to let the real person escape or what? Because that was weird.
Yes, and he's been charged with obstruction. So again, that speaks to the point that there was more involved there. Then you've got the memory card going missing from the camera. They,
Yeah, that-
you know, that was sitting there right by Charlie Kirk's chair that, this random person takes it. But more importantly, um, there were multiple shooters there that day. The kid is not the one that did it. You can hear the gunshots being fired. He allegedly only fired one round, but you can hear more than one shot. So how can that be? How can you only fire one shot, one round from your gun, but then there are multiple shots heard, and it was not an
Kind of like Butler, right? Similar, right? Like people were saying that they heard different shots when Trump was, when they tried to
yeah.
assassinate him.
Well, Butler was also very intentionally done within our own government, our own Secret Service and whatnot. They're told to stand down. They weren't doing the things that they were supposed to be doing and so on. But there are obviously still people in the government that have not been removed from their positions of authority yet. And I'm waiting for all of that to happen. But that's like a whole nother, rabbit hole, obviously, to go down. But yeah, I think there were 3 shooters there that day. I think they actively recruited this kid. I think he thinks that maybe he did it, but I don't think he did. There are a lot of people out there being like, oh, he's a Republican and he's a conservative. Well, he was raised as a conservative. I think he may be on the spectrum slightly. I think he was easily manipulated. But over the past couple of years, he has not been a conservative, and allegedly is in this relationship with a trans person and so on. And I think maybe the group that's involved, the trans activist group, where they're like going to Cuba and training and all these things, maybe a group that was used to facilitate. I know everything's been documented. It was all caught, which again, there's usually chatter. So then why wasn't there more help? Like, why wasn't there better protection in place? And for the love of God, when you see somebody on a roof, like, why isn't somebody saying something? You can see the video.
Seriously.
Oh, there's a person up there, but why aren't they saying something? Why aren't the people on the ground, the police that were there? I mean, he was clearly visible. So what? I don't understand how there's a break there, unless clearly it's intentional. It's allowed to happen for a reason. Now, I had a lot of heartburn, aside from the fact that we lost Charlie Kirk, is the fact that when Kash Patel went on social media, and as soon as he said the words and the sticker went on the screen, I was like, ugh, not this Mason symbolism again. Because
Yeah.
What happened? I haven't been watching.
he was arrested in, 33 hours, and blah, blah, blah. And on the ticker across the screen said, Kash Patel said success and arrest in 33 hours. And I was like, why do we have this 33?
Explain the 33 so that people know what we're talking about with the Mason symbolism.
So that is the highest level of masonry, that you can be, that 33-degree Mason. And that is a symbol of deception, right? It's deceit, it's deception. You've got George Floyd, who's a 33-degree Mason, and so on. Allegedly he's at his own funeral. No, it's not him, it's his brother. Okay, whatever. Like,
George Floyd has
Ooh,
the
I didn't
same
know that.
birthday as Charlie Kirk.
I didn't know that. When's his birthday?
I think it was January 14th. So
You know,
July
my
14th.
great grandpa was a 33rd degree Mason.
sorry to interrupt you, but I think his birthday is actually October. It's coming up because
Oh, let me look. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Keep talking about the symbolism.
So 33.
Yeah, when I saw that, I was like, what the heck? Because I thought,
Oh,
Kash,
it's October 14th.
Same thing with, Dan Bongino. They're talking about how they worked so hard and they did all this stuff and they used all these assets and they deployed and they did this and they did that. But as soon as that came out, I was like, wait, are they using this symbolism to signify to someone like, hey, we've got your number and you're caught, or are they a part of it? And we've just been misled this whole time, thinking that, Cash is the Punisher with
Yeah,
Punisher socks and so on. And really, he's just, part of it.
part of the problem.
Mm.
What do you think? Do you think that he's part of it? Or he did come out and say that there was no evidence that Epstein had trafficked young girls, which
Yeah, I remember that. I was shocked
I
by
was shocked by that. That
especially
especially
what
with
they were saying
everything.
before, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I have well, that contradicts Pam Bondi's own comments. So if you've watched like any of the Project Veritas videos, Pam Bondi was in a restaurant in DC and was talking about how the horrible, like all these child images on Epstein's laptop and so on, that were seized. I just don't. He absolutely did, because there were high schools in and around the West Palm Beach community that Ghislaine would go and, recruit these high school girls, and they would give massages to grown men, right?
Well, and then Virginia grew free. She died in a car accident. Like,
I
and
saw that.
she even said that if she died, she wasn't suicidal or something happened to her, it wasn't by accident. And how could all of this actually not add up to them just trying to, put the wool over our eyes once again and get rid of the evidence, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and everyone's involved.
My
Hollywood's involved.
And I mean, we've all had like hope deferred for a really long time now, is that they're saying these things to lull people into like putting stuff in burn bags. Like they found all this evidence in burn bags in Washington, D.C., like in the FBI building, right? So maybe they're saying that there's no evidence to lull people into like trying to destroy it, or they're having, grand jury indictments and so on. And they just really can't speak about it right now because they are actively questioning people, like Barr, Clinton, all these different Comey, they've all been called in for questioning.
Doesn't that start in October? The questioning?
I think they've already been having questioning already, because they issued the subpoena like this back in August.
And what happened with the P. Diddy trial and all of that? What happened with that? And I feel like it just fell silent. Nothing
I was just
happened, and
gonna
he didn't
say, I
actually
haven't heard
Wasn't found guilty.
anything lately.
Yeah.
So exactly what happened with that? How did they suddenly rule against him, in favor of him, when there was so much evidence, video evidence, eyewitness testimony evidence, and so on against him? Yeah.
So
Weren't
what
the
do you think?
witnesses?
Oh yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, weren't the witnesses disappearing from that case too? Weren't they like not showing up, and the jurors or something? There was some
I
thing
don't
going on, wasn't there?
know.
Yeah.
I didn't really follow that case because that's not really been one that I've followed at all or done anything on. Um,
So what do you think about Trump having a meeting with Bill Gates? Because I know that Bill Gates was on the Epstein list, and he was one of Epstein's buddies, and they were doing research. They were doing like genetic research and on animals and humans and fetus, all this stuff to try and create like chimeras, and so animal human hybrids. And they were trying to create like the perfect human, but then they were also trying to create hybrid humans. And that's one of the things they were doing in Epstein's lab there in the basement. And with Stephen Hawking even was a part of all of that. So Trump having a
What?
meeting, yeah, dude, like
I had no idea. Wait, he had a lab in his basement?
I didn't know he had a lab either.
I just knew
yeah,
about the tunnels or whatever,
yeah, they
I
had like
didn't
a
realize
lab
there was a
that Stephen
lab.
Hawking was involved in, that Bill Gates was involved in, where they were doing experiments because Epstein had a goal, and so did Stephen Hawking. They had a goal to spread their seed throughout the world and to create
Wow.
little, versions of them, and to create the perfect human. And to also with anti-aging, I know that like, have you seen Unseemly, the Peter Nygard story? All about Peter Nygard. So Peter Nygard was a fashion
Is
mogul,
that the
and
Palatine thing? Is that what that is? Or am I thinking of somebody else?
I think that's something else. Peter
Okay.
Nygard is a fashion mogul from Canada.
He
And
wasn't someone.
he what?
Was he the Nexum, part of the Nexum?
No, this was another guy.
The
He was the Nexium cult. No, this is another guy. And he has watched it on Amazon. It's called Unseemly: The Story of Peter Nygard. And he had his own island, much like Epstein. They all have these islands, right? And he had his own island where he was outside the Bahamas. He had paid off the Bahamian government, and he would have these parties, these fashion parties, and bring in these young girls, and he would impregnate them, and then he would have them get abortions so he could use the stem cells and the adrenochrome. That was the
That guy?
adrenochrome. Yes. Yes, Peter Nygard. And so they had similar labs to extract like stem cells, but also to create the perfect human and to create human chimeras, and which is an animal human hybrid, and to do cloning, all sorts of crazy stuff.
And he
And
has like 8 kids too.
yeah,
I thought I had a lot of kids, but probably more than that.
probably
Those are the ones
more.
with his last name.
Yeah, probably more, because this guy was impregnating young girls, like teenage girls, like 15,
It's
14, 13
disgusting.
year olds, and he would make them get abortions so that he could use the stem cells so that he could have it for anti-aging, and that essentially, I mean, is the adrenochrome thing. And so one of the things that Epstein was doing, so Epstein, I posted a video recently about Disney. Back in 2020, I did this deep dive about Disney and the Legends of Little St. James. So on the Disney cruise, they would take people scuba diving to the ledges of Little St. James, and Little St. James is Epstein Island. And so they would
Mm-hmm. I've heard of
they
that.
would take the children and use it for adrenochrome or experimentation, and one of Stephen Hawking's like big goals in life was to create the perfect human, and they
Wow.
had like a laboratory that they were using. And so my question to Anne Marie was, what did you think um about Bill Gates meeting with Trump? Because to me that was like red flag, red flag, red flag. It's like, are we all being played? Is it just
So,
like
so okay. So a couple things.
yeah.
And I don't understand how Bill Gates is still walking free right now, because the big news, so there were a lot of things that happened last week that we didn't get to hear about because of the tragedy of Charlie Kirk. So
I was wondering about that. Like, what did we
What are they
miss?
covering up?
So several things. Number one, in California, they passed that horrible bill that will essentially allow human trafficking, where anybody can show up at a school,
What?
parental permission, and you can take a child out of that school. Yes, that actually did pass. I cannot believe it, but it did pass. So
That
that's
is
What
awful.
bill is that? It makes
Yeah,
me
what
want to
is
throw
that?
up.
But yeah, I'll have to look up the number of the bill, but it did pass. So it's awful. So that passed. Also, our Congress voted to not have the Epstein list released, right? So all that got passed while we weren't paying attention. On the good side of the House, The Hague is meeting, and doctors in Europe are going to be held accountable for delivering the COVID vaccines and the deaths that happened because of that vaccine. So the Hague has met. It's going actually really well. And Bill Gates is listed. He did not testify, but he is, a party that is being tried. So
He
one,
should be.
yeah.
Yeah.
So well, yeah, I thought he'd already been held accountable for everything that he did in Africa and India, right?
Yeah, for the people watching, elaborate a little bit on what happened in Africa and India with Bill Gates, because that's quite the rabbit hole as well. All those mosquitoes that he
Yeah.
unleashed.
I heard about the mosquitoes.
Mm,
So, okay, so for Africa, unfortunately, Africa keeps getting used as guinea pigs
testing ground.
with, they're supposed to be getting anti-malaria drugs, but really they're getting hit with an HPV before like the Gardasil vaccine came out. But first, let's let's vaccinate people in Africa and they're dropping dead or they're becoming sterile and so on. And let's do the same thing in India. And
Mhm.
all women and young girls died or became sterile. And again, he's all about population control. So it was unleashed there before it was unleashed in America. And
Mhm.
I hate the marketing that they do because they try and play on parents, concerns, mom, did you know I could have like been saved from this horrible disease? But what about all the girls that like died,
Yeah.
had strokes, were paralyzed, or became sterilized? I mean, we're talking 14, 15-year-old girls. In South Carolina, they recommend that vaccine, an HPV vaccine, for 9-year-olds.
They do that here too. That's a thing. I don't vaccinate my kids, but it's a thing. Yeah, like at
Yeah, in
8 or 9. I'm
Washington.
like,
Hmm.
why? Like, I
Yeah, they
don't.
push it on them hard too. And then they push you
Mhm.
out of the room when they turn 15. Like they do this thing where they like push you out of the room and then the child is left to make the decision whether or not they want to get that. They did that with my stepdaughter. She had got coerced into getting some of her own vaccinations because they scared her so bad. And I had taught her well, and unfortunately, the doctor got to her on
Yeah,
that.
and that's not okay. And they should be sued,
Mm-mm.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, because, or battery, because they're not equipped to make those decisions, and they are not a legal adult. So they should not be coercing your children.
Mhm. Well,
Yeah,
you're in Florida, so you don't have to deal with all that, right, Emery? You're in,
yeah, I don't.
yeah,
Uh,
we're in Washington. We're in the we're in the oppression state where
We
our
are
gas is
too.
$5.09.
It is. It's
Yeah,
insane.
it's insane. It's almost impossible to live here.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, so yeah,
So you have Bill Gates.
right, for crimes against humanity, and he'll be eliminated. And hopefully, all the programs that he's been putting in place, and with the CIA, and poisoning our food, buying up all the water rights, and so
The
on.
The
farms.
farms.
Isn't
With
yeah.
butter, right?
Yeah.
Meat and all of those things will be done away with, and we'll get back to common sense. But what's really important too is we need to be protecting our land rights, and because around the country, um, local commissions are trying to seize farmland from farmers so that they can put up different, public housing or whatever their reasoning is. And that needs to change for sure. Yeah, we need the farmers. We're in a cattle deficit as it is, if you're a red meat person like I am.
Yeah, I am too.
I
So
am.
what do you think that Trump, so this meeting with Trump and Gates, what the heck is up with that? Like that really bothered me when I saw it. I was like, what is going on? Why is he meeting with doing deals with the devil? Like why? Like is it this classic, we need to look here and not there? Or I'm really tired of kicking the can down the road. When I first, like started out in 2020, I was brought to life. Like I knew that 2020 was a scam because of the symbolism, because I saw Fauci do hand and coat, which is a Masonic symbol, and I knew right away that it was a playbook. I knew it was the playbook. And so,
So
when is this going to end?
Fauci has never treated a person. He's done all
Yeah,
research.
why is everyone listening to him? Like he's the
Oh,
authority.
he's just disappeared now.
He's still research from France. Well, isn't his wife like Ghislaine Maxwell's sister? Like, I mean, it's so
I didn't
interconnected.
know that.
I didn't know that either.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, wow. So,
And so, again, you know, everything is wrong, very, very wrong with NIH and so on. And I'm glad that it's being dismantled brick by brick. And maybe, who knows, maybe Gates, to save his neck, literally is singing like a canary. Like, I really don't know. I don't know why I don't know why Trump would be meeting with, Zuckerberg, with his clear China connection and so on. So, unless it is to collect information and that saying of, keep your friends close, but your enemies closer, I have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea.
So we have a comment here. Someone says, Jennifer says, not sure if he was killed by Israel or if he went into the witness protection program. The whole Valhalla has meaning. Nothing is as it seems is for sure. Did you see the new info about the guy they first arrested with all of his shenanigans with the child abuse materials?
I did not see. Are you talking about the older man?
I I think she must be talking about that.
Are we talking about Charlie Kirk right now?
Yeah. This
Okay.
was a comment that someone left
Okay.
on our Facebook about
So he was
she's
charged with obstruction. I do
did
not
see
know much about him other than that allegedly he's Ashkenazi, and was deaf and said that he was causing a distraction so that the shooter could get away. Now, if he was there for a reason, then again, he was part of the plan. He was not a shooter. I believe that the actual shooter was one of the actual shooters was actually to his left and not his right. And that what everybody saw as the entrance wound was actually the exit wound, and so on.
Mhm, mhm.
And it was clearly
So
professionals. It was not
What about the security guards behind with all the like hand movements and stuff? Did that mean anything or was that just
So Erica Kirk herself came out about that and said that the guy like moving his white hat,
yeah, like going
ooh,
like
the white
this or
hats.
something?
a friend of Charlie's as part of his, detail and so on, and had like nothing to do with it. And same thing with like the guy immediately next to Charlie, that it looked like he had something under his arm. Everybody that was that close, they were all, like part of his team. Does that mean there could have been a betrayer in his team? Potentially.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
To be able to
Yes.
access, potentially. But that's for like our intelligence to actually get a hold of. And normally there's chatter. And so for the mere fact that Bongino and Patel, have access to chatter, you would think that they would have certainly protected him. Right? Like, so just to me, things aren't adding up for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, well, look at how involved Trump is with Israel. Like, and I'm not someone, so my family is Israeli. Like, my sister-in-law is Israeli, my nephew and niece are Israeli. Like, I have to be really careful about um about all my opinions of this because I don't want them to think that because I'm definitely not anti-Semitic in one stinking bit, but I do believe that world governments play a larger hand in what's going on. And it makes me wonder, Trump has been really close with Israel. And so is it,
Or
a case of keep your friends close and your enemies closer? Or are we really like, what is really going on? What do you think is really going on?
Don't they like
Like,
own us? I mean,
yeah, they
what's
basically
happening
own
there?
us.
I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know. What do you, I'm curious what you think, Anne Marie.
well, I think 9/11 was like the biggest bank heist ever. And
Oh, that gives me chills. Yeah.
Mm.
Do
you
you
know,
think it was directed energy weapons? Does anybody else feel that? Have you guys heard of that? Judy Wood, she's a scientist that wrote a book on it and like did a whole like deep dive, from a scientist's perspective. And she was talking about directed energy weapons and the whole Tesla technology way before we've been seeing all the fires and all the, destruction in
yeah.
our
So I
country.
think that number one, well, we know it was an inside job. You can't have certain families that were president and vice president at the time shorting American Airlines stock, right? Just like they shorted Donald Trump's stock, but then he assassinated, and then they had their stock firm recall and claw back the trade because they
I
lost.
didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Cheney had taken control of the they were doing war games that day, and that's why a lot of air traffic controllers at first were like, is this part of the war games? Is this real? Like, what's going on here? There was confusion among the air traffic controllers at first. They didn't understand what was going on. Trump himself, who's on the ground there, felt that it was missile and not airplane. I just posted a link the other day where um, number one, there was an eyewitness there at the time, and he said that he was talking about it, and he was like, "Yeah, the Red Cross told us to like stand over here because they were going to be bringing the building down." And then he heard on the radio like them counting down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then the Trade Center, like imploded. Plus, you've got Tower 5 that just randomly like imploded by itself at like 5:30 in the evening and had no fires, nowhere near the other buildings, and so on.
And
Um,
there's no steel. There's nothing. There was nothing left. That's what that doctor talks about is where did the towers go? Why is there paper like floating around, but there's not like, I mean, it's weird. She's
yeah,
got a pretty interesting theory.
insurance fraud, just like the Titanic and so on.
Mm.
And I do believe it was the world's biggest bank heist because, again, one of the articles that I read at the time talked about the vans that were in the tunnels underneath the World Trade Center, underneath, the other tower where a lot of the banks were. And there was like gold and silver and so on from one of the Swiss banks that were never recovered. Also, it allowed us to usher in the Patriot Act, which took away a lot of our freedoms. Um, all that
Airports, oh my God,
out,
Yeah.
nightmare.
um, floating around like all these mortgages and stuff like that weren't all this like real paper that was just magically lost. Um, so to me, it was absolutely a bank heist. It gave us permission to go in and invade different countries. Uh, these
Yeah.
these different things. It gave us permission, right, to go into these different countries. And then General Clark did a video the other week that talked about, he went to the Pentagon and he met with officials, and within a week, we had already determined we were going to invade 7 different countries. So, like, we weren't looking for weapons of mass destruction. We had already made a battle plan that we were going to go into the Middle East and we were going to take over, Afghanistan, Kuwait, Libya, Iraq, Iran, and so on. So
then it's so interesting that Charlie was murdered the day before the
9
September.
9/11.
Yeah. Yeah. Like
well,
I find that to be so
was
symbolic.
to speak on 9/11.
Mm,
I think there would have been different security there. So they had better access to him here.
yeah,
Plus,
absolutely.
it took the focus away from 9/11. I felt
Ah,
I was thinking that I barely saw
yeah,
anything the
yeah,
next day.
Charlie Kirk,
I
yeah.
was,
of course, it's horrible, and I do. And, I grieved, for days about it, but I felt equally sad for all these families from 9/11, you know, missing their loved ones with entire firehouses just gone.
Yeah.
And to that end, another video that I posted like this past week, you had the audio where the firefighters are going up by the different stories, and they're like, okay, 40th floor, no fire. They got all the way up to, like, I don't know, 50th or 70th floor, and they're like, oh, it's nothing. We'll run 2 lines and we'll get this knocked out. So the problem is again, it was a controlled demolition, and we brought this building down on, it was clearly brought down to give a desired effect.
Mm.
And what they did not count on was the fact that certain planes were not going to make their destination because
Mm.
the air traffic controllers actually did ground all the flights, super quickly. They did not plan on that. They did not plan on the plane in the Pentagon being taken down by the passengers on the plane. It crashed in the field in Pennsylvania. They did not realize like how fast people on the planes would know. That's because at that time you could actually make phone calls at 30,000 feet in the air. Because the phones were analog, now they're digital, and you can't do that anymore, but you could then. And so people were talking on their cell phones, on Blackberries, to people on the ground, and they were getting, real-time communication. And that's how the passengers were aware in Pennsylvania what had happened. And they took it down. There was another plane. I know there was another plane. It landed at a military base that should have hit, but because the pilots did not respond, and they were they flew to the closest military base, and the passengers were greeted by armed military people. I only know this because of just a different, connection that I had. So there was at least one more, but that one was prevented too. And maybe that one would have taken out Tower 5.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
it's crazy.
Whoa. I was just a high schooler during that time. I remember I was walking into accounting class, so I didn't understand anything that was going on until much later. And now that I'm older, everything just makes sense, right? Right back to, like you said, the Titanic. How you referenced the
Yeah,
Titanic. That is wild. And for
definitely.
yeah, controlled like all Rockefeller, but it's like this huge system and it feels endless, doesn't it? You got like it kind of it feels
It's
like
all
this.
connected.
Yeah, it's like this is down the rabbit hole. Like it's all just going deeper and deeper and deeper. And the deeper you go, the bigger the rabbit hole gets. And it's like, when will it end? And what can we do to make a change? And it just feels, sometimes it feels hopeless. I mean, I have to say that the Charlie Kirk situation was a big like black pill moment for me. I mean, I was already pretty black pilled, but like I have lost a lot of hope in like even Trump. Like I was really a big Trump person, and I personally just lost a lot of hope when I saw him have that meeting with Bill Gates and like no arrests have happened. Then the Cash Patel thing that really, really like has blackpilled me, and I'm like, what? These people that were supposed to come in and help us, and and I was part of the Cole Q thing, and it's disheartening that they keep kicking the can down the road. And I understand that RICO takes time. I understand that arresting the cabal takes time. But at what point are we being duped? And that is something that I have really had to sit with. And that's why I've really gone back to just my foundations. Okay, I can just take care of me, and I can take care of mine and my business and my friends and my family. And that's all I can do to help create a better world, because like going after government systems, like, and going after like I was really big into anti-human trafficking. for a very long time, like for 5 years. I was really big into it. And, I was trying to do everything I can to promote awareness, everything that I could to help, people just be aware that it was a problem. And I was ostracized and treated like I was a problem. And it just feels like so big. And I will say that yesterday I saw my friend Nate. He was the special director of operations for Operation Underground Railroad. He had come to an event that my friend and I had put on, and I had invited him, and he someone asked him a question during that event of what can we do locally. And he said, well, we can, equip our local police stations with the equipment necessary to help catch these predators. He ended up quitting Operation Underground Railroad with Tim Ballard, quit it, started his own business called The Innocent, and he has since opened up this business where he's helping to equip and train the local police departments. He recently had Jordan Peterson's wife on his podcast. He was just on Zuby's podcast. Like this, and he's making it happen. Like he's making it happen. So it was like, okay, I maybe made a minute difference by, helping Nate to like come to this event. And that was really cool to see. But other than that, I feel like there's been this just overwhelming sense of dysregulation and like people fighting with me and people being like, I've unfriended people. I don't unfriend people over politics, but this Charlie Kirk thing was different. Like
Yeah.
it was different. Did you guys experience any of that? Like where you lost
I haven't
friends?
been openly talking about it, but I've been appalled by the people like celebrating it and saying like, oh, well, this is, it's because of his political beliefs and he's a
Oh, it's
racist and
terrible.
and all these different things. And one thing I can
It's really
say
awkward.
is I may not know everything that's going on right now, like deeply, like since he passed, right? I've like watched very, as much
Yeah.
as I can on it with the time that I have.
Yeah.
But before that, in fact, like, because my husband was, watches him, right? So I've seen his debates. I've seen long ones. I've seen like, and especially like when you and I started this podcast, I'm like, okay, we need to like watch some debates so
Yeah.
I can see, because his whole goal, I mean, like what I'm getting from him is like to kind of bridge the gap, right? He's
Yeah.
got his beliefs. He's not necessarily trying to like coerce people to his side, but he's educating and he's coming from his stance and he's doing it, in my opinion, from what I've seen, pretty respectfully. And I don't agree with everything that I've seen that he says, but I think that I thought that he had a way of kind of bridging that gap respectfully. It didn't feel like an argument. It felt more like I enjoyed watching him, right? So,
Yeah.
so I haven't necessarily lost friends, but I have been very shocked at some of the comments that I've read, and people are more pissed off about Jimmy Kimmel isn't that his name, being canceled than they are about somebody dying and their kid trying to
Yeah.
run to the dad when she heard the freaking shot go, like trying to run to her freaking dad who's and his wife. I mean, the whole thing. That's just, I don't care what
Awful.
somebody's beliefs are. Like I can get along with anyone regardless of, what their
Mhm.
political beliefs are, but it's baffling that people can celebrate this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
be a good human. And
Yeah.
that's that. I don't understand it either. Like, I mean, there have
It's
been
gross.
I have not liked, and I've wished that they have been in office, but I haven't wished them dead.
Right.
Because I think they need to
Yeah.
be saved before they die. Uh,
Yeah.
right. So,
I didn't like Kamala and I wouldn't wish her like
Right.
death upon her. That's terrible. I mean, I would be
Right.
just as like shocked or baffled that people were celebrating. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
just
yeah.
it's disturbing, the violence, because I feel like they want us to be divided and we're playing the game by doing it. They're picking, I mean, and people are so desensitized.
Yeah.
And
Well,
it's
they've been pushing violent rhetoric for years. Maxine Waters, when Trump first got elected, the first time was talking about if you see Trump supporters out in public at a restaurant.
I remember that.
I mean, they've been saying,
it's a thing, especially in a blue state.
Oh yeah.
Like it's bad here. People get like their cars keyed, like Tesla's
Yeah.
keyed and like
Yeah.
all sorts of stuff just because you think different. Like it
you
I
can,
don't understand.
that's the thing. It's like, do you know how many Democrats own Teslas? Like a
A
lot.
A
lot.
lot,
Where they're
mostly.
like green energy people. Why would you be?
Yeah,
But honestly, I thought it was like, okay, so now you can see. Like, it's
yeah.
not okay to just see something and be like, oh, I don't like you because you're driving that car. They bought that car long before Elon Musk was supporting Trump, most likely. So, like,
Mhm.
dating
Mhm.
on. So to just randomly attack something for a possession, or like, again, when Trump first came into office and all these people were like, calling on Macy's and all these different companies to drop like Ivanka's line of shoes, purses, perfumes, and so
It
on.
seems so petty. Like if he won, he won. Like, I mean, I didn't act like that when Biden won. I did not like him at all. I did not even think
No.
he was real. Like I'm like, this has got to be
I didn't
Obama
like him
running the
when he
show.
ran with Obama back in the day. I
And
remember thinking, who is this guy? He's a jerk. I
yeah.
remember thinking that, and I liked Obama. Like I
I
remember when
so
they
did
all
I. I
ran against
voted
each
for
other.
him.
Yeah, I did too. When I was first able to start voting, I voted for him, and I remember Biden debating along in one of the debates, and I remember thinking he was awful. Like I just could not stand the man. It's terrible.
So again, I think people have lost compassion,
Mm,
but back
Yes.
we're
yeah.
saying party and hope deferred, again, all this is suddenly coming back up. So like Susan Rice's email to herself of the meeting that happened in the Oval Office with Barack Obama, Joe Biden, all these different people present. That's good. They
Yeah.
testified against about it back in like 2019, and they all lied under oath to Congress. And I wanted to throw stuff at my TV, and I knew they were lying because I'd read the court depositions. So I knew that they had testified under oath completely differently in a courtroom in front of a judge versus in front of our Congress. So at the very least, they all are in contempt of Congress. And if you can arrest Steve Bannon and throw him in jail for contempt of Congress, then they should all be arrested just on that basis alone. But, they are questioning Bill Barr, and like Project Veritas has released all these things about how
Mm,
he and Armstrong Williams and what they were doing, and how Fannie Willis, is that her name, out of Atlanta,
I know
the
that name.
execution, against Trump in Georgia, and so on. So, like, hopefully, Project Veritas absolutely has the receipts because this lady was taking notes every single day as all these meetings were happening. So, they're ideally, we are going to see like actual repercussions against these people.
We can only pray. We can only pray. Like, I feel like I keep hearing that it will happen. And that's why it's so important for us to anchor into our wellness and for us to like be kind to each other and, these conversations. And like, that's why this podcast was born because, Alyssa and I have very different, spiritual beliefs, but we are coming together and very similar at the same time, very similar, but different. We have decided to come together to talk to each other about these beliefs that we have and then bring people on. You are, Anne-Marie, you're very in alignment with, our political thoughts, but like we want to bring people on that don't agree with us because that opens up the conversation even more. And if you are
That's what
watching us,
Charlie was doing too,
yeah,
was he not?
exactly.
Even though I think people are
That's
taking
exactly
clips of
what he
what
was
he was
doing.
doing.
Yeah.
But from what I saw, I was like, okay, this is like a
Yep.
good conversation. I like,
Yep.
how it's
Yep.
people aren't being attacked.
Yeah,
Sorry, I didn't mean to
that's
interrupt
right.
you.
No, you're
Keep
fine.
going.
You're fine. No, you're good. I just think that it's important that we have these conversations. Um, so we've been going for about an hour and we wanted to be intentional with everybody's time. So I think that this was so awesome today, and I definitely would love to have more conversations. And I can't wait to listen to this one again because there's a lot of knowledge bombs being dropped in here. So if you guys are listening to us and you have any questions or special requests, be sure to write them in the chat. And girls, if you would go into the chat and answer some of those questions. Anne Marie, if you could go into the chat on this video and answer some of the questions for the people, that would be super awesome. This will be up on Spotify and it will be up on YouTube on both of our channels, and it will live here in the Facebook group as long as we don't get banned for talking about these things. I will put it up on a Rumble channel so that we can have it in a safe place, because God knows if this will be able to live here on Facebook. So
I have one more point real fast, and that is, you were asking like, well, what can we do? So what everybody can do is actually get involved on the local level. So whether that's a school board, a water commission, get involved locally, because the locally leads to bigger and bigger change.
Yep.
And it really does have to be grassroots, because as we see, we can't just wait for, the president and top down to make change. It really does have to start at the very local level.
Amen.
That makes sense. I agree with that. I absolutely agree with that.
Amen. All right, ladies. Well, this was so good today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you,
Anne-Marie.
Anne.
Yeah,
it was nice
we really got schooled today. So we went
Yes,
down the
I
rabbit
learned
hole
some
today,
stuff.
and that was good. Next time we will be talking about AI and aliens, at least AI. What do you think, Alyssa? We're gonna go into the AI debate.
Speaking of that, I know somebody who I absolutely love and adore, but we have very differing views on
Yes.
AI, and she thinks that it's like this great thing, and I'm like, I don't know about that.
Yep.
And I think she would be good to have on to like
Let's do it.
bring in
her.
that other perspective.
Yeah.
Because I don't agree with it, but I am open to, we're still friends. So
Absolutely. Let's have that conversation. I really want to have that conversation. So thank you for watching. We hope that you guys have a wonderful week, and we will see you again next time. I think we'll be back on next week, Alyssa.
Hopefully, yeah. We'll talk about it.
We'll
talk about it.
We'll
We
talk
might
about
find
it.
a different day.
That's okay.
Because
That's all right. We will be
at
back.
my other house.
We will be back. All right. Thank you, Anne Marie. Thanks, girls.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Are we done being live? Am I supposed to hang up?
No, hold on.